Hi, my name is Riley Allen. This is my review of the 2003 film Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. We start off with the flashback where you meet Elizabeth Swann and her father, Governor Swann. They're on their way to a place called Port Royal, which is a part of somewhere, I'm sure, which is part of a bigger place, I'm sure, so he can take up his governorship of the place. We meet Lieutenant Norrington, Mr. Gibbs, who's a shipman, and they spot a burning wreck, and they rescue a boy from the water, named Will Turner. Elizabeth noticed that he has a gold medallion with a pirate symbol on it, and she takes it so the boy doesn't get in trouble. It's not a future, and her father is pressuring Elizabeth to get married, specifically to the now soon-to-be Commodore Norrington. We see that the governor's going to gift Norrington a sword for the ceremony, and the sword is implied to be made by William Turner, who's gotten a job as a blacksmith. We see Captain Jack Sparrow arrive at the Port Royal, bribing the dude at the dock so he doesn't have to write his name, and then proceeding to rob him, like Jack Sparrow should do. Jack tries to steal a ship. Jack tries to steal a ship, and he meets these two bumbling guards, or people who are going to be recurring a bit. At the same time, Elizabeth's corset kind of suffocates her, and she passes out into the water. Jack rescues her. Kind of at the cost of himself, because he's later arrested. He tries to fight his way out, but he's thrown into jail. He does threaten Elizabeth, though. He threatens Elizabeth, then he tries to run it, and he fights with William Turner, because he broke into the blacksmith shop he works at. And I love how he figured it out that someone was in there, because he looked at his drunk master, the drunk actual blacksmith, and says, right where I left you. Looked at the hammer that Jack tried to use to break the irons off of his wrist, and said, you're not where I left you. So then the Black Pearl attacks the town late at night, led by Captain Barbossa. And they kidnap Elizabeth because she has the medallion they're looking for. William Turner proceeds to break Jack out to get what he wants, to help find Elizabeth. They steal a ship from the Royal Navy. At the same time, Barbossa kind of explains to Elizabeth that they all stole, who's going by the pseudonym Elizabeth Turner, and Barbossa explains that they stole all this gold and it's cursed, so now they can't really die, and they can't eat, they can't, feel pain or pleasure, they can't do anything. So they want to get that rid of it, and when the moon glows bright, they all turn into skeletons. Jack and Will make it to Ticodega. They make it to somewhere, and they recruit a crew, including Mr. Gibbs, who we met earlier. They end up meeting up with Barbossa kind of at this cave. So to break the curse, you gotta throw away all the gold that you stole, cut your hand and bleed over it, and that's that. And the reason they need Elizabeth is they assume, since she's going by Elizabeth Turner, she's the daughter of Bootstrap Bill. Bootstrap Bill is one of the people who had cursed gold, but they think he's dead. We learn that the Pearl was Jack's ship, but Barbossa, his first mate, mutinied along with everybody else, and basically stranded him with only a gun and 1 ammunition. And he's saving that ammunition for Barbossa as he managed to escape. We later find out they threw Bootstrap Bill, Will's father, overboard because he was one of the few people that didn't agree with the mutiny against Jack. And that's also kind of implied to be why Jack accepted Will's help, because he recognized the name William Turner. So Will escapes with Elizabeth and the crew while Jack gets captured by the crew of the Barbossa ship. They have a fight. And eventually, the crew of Jack's crew is all captured except Will, who's assumed dead for a minute or two, but he managed to escape and makes a deal with Barbossa that Elizabeth goes free and the crew is treated well. Jack's crew is treated well. Of course, he didn't specify where they'd be released, so, she was just thrown in the water. She managed to escape to an island, while Jack, who was also thrown off the boat, escapes with her. She proceeds to burn, they get drunk, and then the next morning she burns all the rum and food because she knows that there'll be a ship coming to rescue her and they'll see the fire. Jack's disbelieving until he sees, literally a second later, the ship, and he's gonna be like, she'll be so insufferable after this. She agrees to marry Norrington if he rescues Will, which they go to do. They get there, and, there's a plan between Jack and the army, or the Navy, to go in. Nobody kind of figures it out. They eventually try to make a flanking movement on the pirates, Barbossa, but the Barbossa's pirates go out and they fight on the Interceptor. Or the ship, the Interceptor or whatever. Meanwhile, Elizabeth rescues the crew of Jack's ship on the Black Pearl to help rescue him, but they're like, that's against the pirate code. And she's like, and she quotes Barbossa from earlier, the pirate code's more of just a suggestion, as she invoked parlay earlier, and Barbossa kind of broke it, and she was like, and he was like, the code is more just a suggestion. So Elizabeth basically, boss pitches it and goes to rescue Will herself. And they manage to succeed. Well, Jack, who stole a coin himself, I guess for the lulz, I don't know what he was planning on. I don't know why Jack would want the immortality. Was this always a plan of his? I don't know. I don't know what the plan there was, because it didn't really give him immortality. I guess he was planning for a fight with Barbossa, but I don't know. Anyway, he and Will bleed on the coins, break the curse. He shoots and kills Barbossa. At the same time, the Royal Navy intercepted all the pirate crew, killed some of them, and the others like, oh shit, the curse is broken. We can die now. Let's surrender. I don't know if they're all hanged or anything, but they had Jack Sparrow and they were at the hangman's noose, so I'm thinking it's implied that all Barbossa's crew was hanged. That's what I'm kind of assuming. Anyway, Will Sparrow manages, or not Will Sparrow, Will Sparrow. Oof. Will Turner rescues Jack Sparrow from the noose, and Norrington's like, you know what, fuck it. Let Jack go. Jack escapes, and Will professes his love to Elizabeth, and Elizabeth reciprocates, and they get married. I guess they're planning on getting married, and, Norrington's not really the villain. You just want to root for Jack more in this movie. Barbossa's the villain. Norrington's there. You just want to really root for Jack, Will, and Elizabeth. And honestly, Norrington's a pretty decent guy, because he's like, you know what? All right. As long as you're happy. He's like, he holds up the sword that Jack made and said, I hope that the person who made this sword takes as much care as everything else in life as he does as making this sword. And Will's like, I will. Or, something like that. And, it ends with Jack being rescued by his crew. And when he asked him, they quoted, Elizabeth, who quoted Barbossa, saying, the pirate code, it's more like a suggestion. And there's a post-credit scene with Jack the Monkey Because, of course, the Barbossa named a pet monkey after Jack. I think it was supposed to be an insult, but knowing Jack, he probably found that shit funny. Rescue, he steals a piece of gold, and then now he's a zombie, or whatever. I don't know. Overall, I really loved this movie. I loved, like, I love Jack Sparrow as a character. He is so hilarious. I don't think Johnny Depp can possibly not make a funny character. Or, like, I mean, he definitely can. But if you tell this man to be funny, he's gonna be funny. I loved, like, the chemistry between Will and Jack. You know, their bromance. They worked really well together on screen as characters, you know. I also love the chemistry between Elizabeth and Will. I like those two. Barbossa was a great actor. Was played by a great actor. I think Jeffrey Rush. I don't know. Also, two of his crew were pretty funny. Pintel and Rigetti, I think their name were. They were like the comedy slapstick duo of the movie. They were pretty funny. They weren't really overdone, so I like that. I really like this movie, and I'm shocked I kind of never watched it before. This is really, or at least watched it in completion before. This was a really great movie. I loved it. Overall, I think I'm gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. There was nothing bad about it that screamed, like, I really enjoyed this one. I'm trying to think of anything negative that could bring it down to a 9 or anything, and, you know, I'm just kind of blanking. Thanks for watching the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next video.